we've gone and made it to the last month of the year. And you know what that means. New month means new books. So let's look at 10 new releases releasing in the month of December that you should know about. First up, we have a bit of a weird one because I cannot find a definitive date for this book coming out, and that is Snake Eater by T. Kingfisher. Some people say it came out in November, some people are saying it's in December. Can't figure it out, but I didn't have it in the November video, so I'm going to mention it here. New T. Kingfisher book. And what's really cool about this is it's a witty fantasy horror, which just sounds really cool. With only a few dollars to her name and her beloved dog, Copper, by her side, Selena flees her past in the city to claim her late aunt's house in the desert town of Quartz Creek. Selena loves the strange beauty of the desert, but the people of Quartz Creek share their town with others, old gods and spirits whose claim to the land long predates their human neighbors. When Selena's search for answers leads her to her late aunt's journal, she discovers a sinister truth about her new home is the ground of an ancient god known simply as Snake Eater, to whom it seems Aunt Amelia owed a debt. Snake Eater has taken a sinister liking to Selena, and now that she's the owner of his home, he's hell-bent on collecting everything he was promised. This sounds really cool. I can see how there'd be some witty fantasy horror elements with that. That sounds like a lot of fun. It's also really good because it's quite short. It's about 200 pages. So if you're looking for something short just kind of over the holidays, this might be a good one to check out. Coming out on December 2nd, we have The Song That Shatters and The Word That Prevails, books 3 and 4 in the Pearlsong Refounding series. We did go over book 1 and 2, which both released in June. Well, now we have books 3 and 4 in this series out as well. Michael clearly did a lot of upfront work to get this series out all together and very close. This seems to be a classic sort of isekai. Person from our world falls into this fantasy world and has to try and survive, and he becomes the chosen one in this fantasy world. Sounds really interesting. This used to be a very common setup in fantasy, but less so with modern fantasy, a lot more sort of Stephen Donaldson type books. So it's cool to see that this is still getting some representation in the fantasy genre as well, other than with more Japanese focused media, which is quite a common setup over there, but less so with Western fantasy stories. Also coming out on December 2nd, we have This Brutal Moon by Bethany Jacobs. This is the third and final book in the Kingdom trilogy, the first being These Burning Stars. So because this is a sequel, we will go over the synopsis for book 1, and then you'll know if we want to continue on to book 2, and then on to book 3. John Ironway, hacker, con artist, and only occasional thief, has got her hands on a piece of contraband that could set her up for life. Evidence that implicates the powerful Nightfoot family in a planet-wide genocide 75 years ago. The Nightfoots control the precious Sevite that fuels interplanetary travel through 3 star systems, and someone is sure to pay handsomely for anything that could break their hold. Of course, anything valuable is also dangerous. The Kingdom, the ruling power of the 3 star systems, is inextricably tied up in the Nightfoot's monopoly, and they can't afford to let June expose the truth. They task 2 of their most brutal clerics with hunting her down. Preternaturally stoic Chono and brilliant hothead Essek also happens to be the heir to the Nightfoot Empire. But Chono and Essek are haunted in turn by a figure from their shared past, known only as Six. What Six truly wants is anyone's guess, and the closer they get to finding Jun, the surer Chono is that Six is manipulating them all, and that they are heading for a bloody confrontation that no one will survive unscathed. This book also won a ton of awards. It won the Philip K. Dick Award, as well as being shortlisted for the Locus Award for Best First Novel, and it's also a space opera. And just doing a really quick skim of the reviews, it seems to be received really, really well. So yeah, I think I need to add this to my TBR, especially now that the entire trilogy is out. So I will be keeping my eye on this one, and especially kind of the reception for the third book. Because if everybody says it sticks a landing, then I might have to pick this up. Coming out on December 4th, we have Dawn of the Firebird. The discarded daughter of an emperor, Camilla Zarzad, is raised with her mother's nomadic tribe until a violent raid ends that peaceful life. Amid the chaos of death, the heavenly magic of Nur awakens within her, granting her the power to wield a cosmic light. Camilla suddenly goes from outsider to weapon, finally accepted into her father's court. Now worthy, she trains in combat and poisons, pledging loyalty to his throne. But tragedy strikes again when her clansmen are defeated by a rival empire. Camilla vows a lasting vengeance as she escapes. However, Camilla is not alone, for something shadows her, feeding her darkness. Hiding her identity, Camilla infiltrates the enemy's army academy. She studies jinn, magic, and martial arts from cutthroat mystic monks in a bid to bring down an empire from within. However, through her studies, Camilla begins to question her father's teaching of war and rule. With war escalating across kingdoms and a twisted magic spreading, Camilla is torn between two impossible choices: revenge or freedom. I was very kindly sent an arc of this and I have read a bit of it, and yeah, I think it sounds really cool. I like the idea of these mystic monks. It does kind of have the academy trope but twice over, which is something that's really interesting. I've not read a lot of it, so I can't speak too much about the story itself, but it's a really cool setup, and I always like fantasy books that kind of play with this idea that you're brought up with a certain mentality on the world and a perspective on the world, and when you start to see it from other people's perspective, it kind of opens your mind to what's truly happening in the world outside, which is a trope that I just really enjoy in fantasy. So this is one I have already started, and I will continue to read it. Also coming out on December 4th, we have Fallen Gods. Now this isn't really my type of fantasy, however, I was really convinced by this cover to include it on this list, because it is beautiful. This is a romantasy book, so it does have mainly romance plotline, I believe. An enemy to lovers fantasy romance filled with passion, spice, and Norse mythology. The gods aren't dead. They're merely sleeping, locked in mortal bodies, scattered across the world, waiting for the right spark to wake them. And raised to Jern's father is the most ruthless of them all. He raised her to obey, to bleed, and to be his blade when the time came. Now he's sending her to Ender University, a place steeped in ancient bloodlines and deadly secrets, with one mission: to steal back Mjolnir, the hammer of legend. If she fails, everyone she loves will die. But Arik Eriksson wasn't part of the plan. He's the enemy's heir, distant, dangerous, and the one person she absolutely cannot afford to fall for. He has closed himself off completely behind a wall of ice. But the more she is ordered to unravel him, the harder it becomes for her to remember where the lies end and who she truly is. Only a mission she never chose and a man she was never meant to love stands between her and a war that will decide the fate of the world. So this seems to be very romance heavy. Again, not normally my thing. I don't know how many people watching this is their thing too, but if you're into romancy, definitely check out Fallen God, even just for the cover alone. Damn. Coming out on December 5th, we have a new Warhammer book, Ashes of the Imperium, The Scouring, Book 1. Now, I don't know much about the Warhammer lore at all, so I cannot tell you if this is a good place to hop in or not. It's something I've always meant to check out, but I just don't know that much about it, and I have no idea where to start. So if you are a Warhammer reader and you know a lot more about this, please let me know down in the comments below. Is this a good place to start, or where should people start with the Warhammer books? And I'll try and pin one in the comments if someone leaves something. As the siege of Terra ends, there are many loose ends. Traitors trying desperately to escape, a monumental vacuum of power to fill, and a crumbling galactic government to see to. Those who hold on to the power must decide how to wield it, and a new structure must be put in place. All while, desires to exact vengeance run high. I must say it sounds really cool, and I've always loved the kind of aesthetic with Warhammer, so it's definitely one I have on my radar. No idea when I'm going to get to it, even if it's going to be in the next year or so, I have no idea, because yeah, I think there's a lot of books, but very intrigued to check this series out, especially with the recent news that, recent-ish news that Henry Cavill is working on the movie adaptation. He's a huge fan, so that will be really good, I think. Coming out on the 9th of December, we have Tailored Realities by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this is a non-Cosmere short story collection, which means it's filled with short stories that are not tied to his connected universe that Tress of the Emerald Sea, Stormlight, Mistborn are all a part of. This is very much a separate completely unconnected to his Cosmere universe. And this does include the brand new Moment Zero, which is a never-before-seen novella that he wrote just for this release. However, it also binds up a lot of his other short stories that just haven't had many physical releases, especially in anthologies such as Snapshot, Perfect State, Defending Elysium, and 5 other stories that were originally published individually elsewhere. The man, the myth, the legend doesn't need an introduction. We all kind of know by now who the Brando Sando is. I've not read a lot of his non-Cosmere stuff, but I did listen to the audiobook for the original, which he co-wrote with Mary Robinette Cole, and that was fantastic. So I'm definitely intrigued about checking out more of his sci-fi stuff or just non-Cosmere stuff. So I'm likely going to pick it up. Yeah, probably. Coming out on the 15th of December, we have Dogged by Michael R. Fletcher, which I think wins the cover of the month. This is such a bizarre out there cover that looks really, really cool. You got a massive war dog, there's a dragon in the background. I don't even need to read the synopsis, I'm sold on this already. In the final days of the Demon Empire, a lone war dog goes in search of the answer to the only question she cares about: who murdered her mate? Utterly unqualified to solve a mystery, Dogged Determination has but one advantage: she never ever gives up. From the heart of a massive empire to the deepest foreboding jungles, Dogged is an unstoppable force of will. Michael R. Fletcher is a huge indie author that does a ton of really cool stuff, and this seems to be connected to his Obsidian Path series, which starts with Black Stone Heart. I've not read it. I do think you can read this separately. I don't think you need to read the Obsidian Path. I think this is like an unrelated companion novel. But if you've enjoyed the Obsidian Path, definitely one to check out. And is one I have on my radar just based on the cover and the premise alone. A revenge story with this dog human thing. I'm in. I'm sold. And last but most certainly not least, on the 16th of December, we have Halo: Edge of Dawn, an original novel set in the Halo universe, based on the New York Times best-selling video game series 2560. After eliminating War Chief Escharum and sending the banished leadership into chaos, the Master Chief continues to fight on Zeta Halo, accompanied by his new AI companion and their loyal pilot, Fernando Esparza. As Spartan 117 searches for scattered Allied forces, a young combat medic tortured and imprisoned for months by the Banished, and the enigmatic Harbinger may hold the key to unlocking deeper mysteries within the ancient Ring world. But every step toward answers is haunted by the sinister and elusive Blade Master, Jega Redomnai, who is hell-bent on vengeance. Another huge video game franchise, Halo. There's not a whole lot I need to say about Halo. It's Halo, and a brand new original story within the world following Master Chief. And over on the Discord, we will be reading King Sorrow, the Behemoth itself, by Joe Hill. The reception to this book has been absolutely wild. I really want to read it, so I'm glad that it was voted in for December. It is huge, so I might end up falling into part of January, because I'm not sure I'm going to finish it this month. However, if you want to join in on the read-along, you can join the Discord in the description below. Also, just a very quick thank you for all the amazing reception on the novella Tomb of Tomes with the cover reveal and the Shadowbinders merch and all the other things going on with your Shadowbinders next year. It was such a great response, really cool day, and I'm really grateful to everybody who shared it and pre-ordered the ebook and everything. That was really, really cool. I'm always blown away by the support with these types of things. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you as always. Thank you very much for watching. Outro. Also, you can't really see it, but I've got a Grinch jumper on for Christmas.